So today we are there to discuss a very important topic. I, being a woman, have to concentrate on this because in the cardiac health, are women being left out? There is an interesting perspective to the whole scenario. Let us look at the gender parity in India. This is nothing to do with the heart, but it has a very big background towards how gender parity is affecting the women in India. Well, gender discrimination continues to be an enormous problem within the Indian society. Traditional patriarchal norms have relegated women to secondary status. And this, I'm not saying, this is proven in our day-to-day activities and in the scenario as it exists in our country today. Whether it is the women's health or financial status, education or political involvement, women always take a back seat. However, they stand to be the backbone of the household as well as the workplace, wherever they are working, as there is a lot of career orientation around women nowadays too. They are generally married young. They quickly become mothers at an age where they should be, at least guys their age are playing around. They are burdened with stringent domestic as well as financial responsibilities. However, they frequently remain to be malnourished, and as it always stands to be a woman who is the last member in the household to eat and to get a medical attention also. 54% of women are literate in our country as compared to 76% of men throughout the country. And though it has started as a strategic move to make women more educated, till now there is less of schooling and further bias against their inheritance and laws, whether it is the marital laws or the divorce laws in women in the society. These laws, they do prevent women from accumulating substantial financial assets, and it is more and more challenging to have a good, secure and autonomy in our country for women. Now let us look at the cardiac aspect of the women disease and as compared to men. If we have to understand our heart, this is a miracle organ. It starts to work as early as the 5th month of the pregnancy. The baby's heart starts to work, and throughout life 24/7 it remains to be working, because if it goes to a standstill, there's nothing else but death. And it beats for about 1 lakh times every day without tiring, and its functioning is vital as to all organs of the body. Now, if we look at the health truth about the heart, the prevalence of heart disease is amongst 8.6 million women all over the world, which accounts for the 3rd all death in women. 3 million women, they die of stroke each year. And if we look at stroke, it is because of the embolic phenomena. It is very closely related to coronary artery disease or coronary heart disease. It is 11% risk of death with stroke in women vis-a-vis 8.4% in men. And it is highly related, whether it is coronary artery disease or stroke, it is related to the use of oral contraceptives along with a combination of smoking. The incidence of smoking has become very, very high in women. It is more than men, and they use oral contraceptive, and this combination is working out more fatal in women to increase the incidence of coronary artery disease. 42% of women who have heart attacks, they die within 1 year as compared to only 24% of men. Under the age of 50, women have heart attacks which are twice as likely to be men's fatal as compared to the men. 2,67,000 women, they die each year of heart attack, and which kills 6 times as many as women with breast cancer. And we have such a huge awareness about breast cancer, whether it is in our country or worldwide. However, the truth about is that the awareness about heart attacks and coronary artery disease in women still stands to be a big, big lacuna in our country. Another 31,837 women die each year because of congestive heart failure, which is the pumping failure of the heart, and there is such a huge amount of death occurring around women, which represents 62.6% of heart failure deaths worldwide. So this is a huge amount, and this impacts hugely on the quality as well as quantity of life of a woman in our country. They're talking about some facts. What happens to once a woman presents to an emergency room with a heart problem? It is generally that the women are made to wait longer as compared to men in the emergency room when they present to emergency room to a physician with symptoms of heart attack, because the physicians are slower at recognizing the presence of heart attacks in women because of the characteristic, there are some characteristics which are lacking, whether it is in term of chest pain, which happens in women vis-a-vis men, and ECG changes, which are less frequent in women. We'll just discuss about these patterns. After heart attack, women are less likely to receive the medical therapy, which prevents the mortality and improves their survival. As compared to men, women are less likely to receive this medical therapy, and this contributes to a higher rate of complications of after heart attack in women, even after adjusting the age. So complications of heart attack are even higher in women. 38% of women and 25% of men will die within 1 year of the first recognized heart attack. So the incidence of death even after heart attack is higher in women. And women are twice as likely as men to die within first few weeks after suffering a heart attack. 46% of women vis-a-vis 22% of men are heart attack survivors will be disabled with heart failure within the next 5 to 6 years. Studies show that women who are eligible candidates to receive life-saving clotbuster drugs are far less likely than men to receive them. There was a data study in 1984 where more women than men have died each year from heart disease, and this gap, trust me, still widens, and it continues to widen even today. Women receive fewer heart disease procedures than men, and this is documented data around it. Procedures around men are much higher as compared to around women. If I have to offer a therapy to a woman vis-a-vis a man, the acceptance of that therapy is close to 1 to 5% in women, where vis-a-vis about 80 to 90% around men, and that stands to be the real truth in our country. Women's heart respond better than men to the healthy lifestyle changes, yet no heed is paid around prevention in women, and this again stands to be a hardcore truth, because lifestyle management, lifestyle modifications or therapy both are less accepted by women because of maybe lack of awareness or lack of acceptance towards having a heart disease in women. And if we look at the heart-related studies, women comprise of only 24% of participants in the all world heart-related studies, which is a very low number. However, the increased incidence of smoking in women, intake of oral contraceptives, diabetes, and abnormal lipid values in women, the protection that the women get because of their hormone of estrogen. So smoking, diabetes, bad food habits causing increased lipids, oral contraceptives, all these things, and plus urbanization of our living standards, plus stress, all these contribute towards increased incidence of heart disease in women and decrease the estrogen protection in them. Well, when we talk of heart disease, we have two systems working. One is the pumping action, one is the electrical action. When I say pumping action, it is to the in a very light way, I can call it as a plumbing action of the heart, which deals with the coronary artery disease that causes heart attack or increased cholesterol or high blood pressure or heart failure in the patients. And the second problem is the electrical problem, which deals with the arrhythmias. That means it deals with the heartbeat, either the slower heartbeat or the faster heartbeat. Now these are two different systems which occur in the heart. As far as heart disease is concerned, we have a very high awareness about the plumbing action or the pumping action of the heart. However, the awareness around the electrical system is very, very low, and that is where women are affected more. The awareness is low, and hence they go unrecognized from this electrical problem. The symptoms of both these problems are very different. When we talk of coronary artery disease, we are talking of angina or heart attack, and it is represented in form of chest pain. Now, chest pain, as we see or perceive as the first indicator of heart attack, in men it is quite typical. You must have seen a lot of pictures of a male with his hand on the chest and wincing with pain. However, with females, the symptoms are different. They are not same as that in men. It is that pain is generally seen in the upper part of the body, which may be either in both the arms, the left shoulder, it may be in the back, it may be radiating towards the neck and the jaw, or it may be an epigastric or a stomach pain, right in the center of the stomach. The pain may be that way. And there are associated symptoms of difficulty in breathing, the cold sweats, or fullness or ingestion feeling or choking feeling like heartburn with nausea and vomiting, lightheadedness, giddiness, or extremely feeling weak and irregular or a rapid heartbeat. However, when we deal with the electrical system of the heart, the symptoms are totally different. The symptoms of arrhythmia may be just palpitations or some fluttering in the chest, a racing of the heartbeat, giddiness, blackouts, sweating, or blackouts, as I said, syncope. And sometimes there may be chest pain, but it is not necessary. So when we are dealing with the heart, we are dealing with the pumping action, the symptoms are totally different. And when we are dealing with arrhythmia, the symptoms are totally different. When I talk about the electrical system or the arrhythmia, females are much more prone to it. However, most of the time I have seen them having these symptoms, but the diagnosis goes in favor of having an anxiety or a panic attacks rather than diagnosing them for arrhythmias. The diagnosis goes many a times in favor of anxiety attacks or panic attacks. Hence, the diagnosis becomes very delayed, and for years and years, women suffer from this problem, which is easily treatable. The disease management, both the sides, involves certain amount of intervention. In case the first line of therapy for angina may not be an intervention, but if it manifests as acute MI, it may turn as an intervention in form of primary PCI or stenting. While in case of arrhythmia, the presentation may be in form of a slow heartbeat, which has to be tackled with a pacemaker, or a faster heartbeat, which presents as ventricular tachycardia or ventricular fibrillation, and a patient is a survivor of sudden cardiac arrest and requires an implantation of a implantable cardioverter defibrillator or ICD. In case there is a pump failure involved, or a patient presents with breathlessness with the heart function which is low, then there are therapies in terms of cardiac resynchronization therapy or heart failure therapies for improvement of heart failure. This slide shows a lot of lightning, in the sky, and imagine yourself standing just under the lightning and getting a thunderbolt. That is the impact of sudden cardiac arrest, which we do not understand in the right way because we are not aware what this lightning is all about. This lightning occurs inside the heart. The same electrical short circuiting occurs inside the heart, which results into a cardiac arrest. Investigating women in a total different perspective from men is the most important need for the time. Now, when we talk of sudden cardiac arrest, the cause is a chaotic rhythm, which is technically known as ventricular fibrillation or ventricular tachycardia, and there occurs no blood supply and oxygen to the entire body, especially the brain, for more than 6 seconds, which causes the patient to collapse, and patient will die within the first few minutes, until and unless there are some maneuvers done within first 6 minutes to save the patient. And it can happen even during heart attack or post heart attack. It is the commonest thing to happen. It is sudden, it is cardiac, it is arrest. These three words define the whole scenario. So there are no warning symptoms, or there may be no symptoms at all. Hence, preemptive diagnosis or diagnosis in advance is the must for sudden cardiac arrest, which can be done with a very simple test like ECG, which is a basic investigation available worldwide, a couple of blood tests, and the most important tool is an echocardiography to determine how the heart muscle is behaving. Echocardiography is widely available in our country nowadays, and it is a must. to be done to see how is the heart function of the patient, whether it is less than 35% or more than 35%, because the heart's ability to pump the blood less than 35% actually puts you at a very, very high risk of sudden cardiac arrest. How do we have diagnose people who are at a higher risk of sudden cardiac arrest? Well, 90% of patients would not survive the first episode of sudden cardiac arrest. So the only difference between syncope and sudden cardiac arrest is death. That from sudden cardiac arrest you do not rise up, but from syncope you rise up. 90% patients would die of sudden cardiac arrest. But the 10% who survive from sudden cardiac arrest, they are lucky enough that they have medical help available or somebody standing close to them available to save them. Then in those patients, they are again at a very high risk of developing another episode, 20% chances of having another episode within the next year. The other patients who are at high risk for sudden cardiac arrest are the patients who have ejection fraction less than 35%, who've had heart attacks in the past, and their determinant ejection fraction decides for their incidence of sudden cardiac arrest. Patients who've had a documented faster heartbeats coming from the lower chamber of the heart, which are known as ventricular tachycardia. And you have to look at the history of sudden cardiac death in the family, especially in the siblings or cousins, brothers, sisters, or in the family, like in parental family, anybody out of the parents who have died young. That means less than the age of 50 years, sudden collapse in the family. That has to be investigated, and these are the people who should be thoroughly investigated from their family lineage. Now, when we are dealing with the life-threatening situation of sudden cardiac arrest, it stands to be the #1 cause of death worldwide. So data says that 1 out of 10 deaths in India are due to sudden cardiac arrest. This is a huge data. It has to have an impact on our health scenario, that 1 out of 10 deaths in India are due to sudden cardiac arrest. And the precursors are the malignant chaotic rhythms in form of ventricular tachycardia or ventricular fibrillation. And the treatment of this is to give a shock to the patient, which is in terms of ICD. Some of these patients can be treated with radiofrequency ablation too. However, the emergency room therapy stands to be a ICD, which is a small device which is implanted in the chest of the patient, and the wire goes inside the heart, and it monitors the rhythm each and every beat of the patient. And whenever it sees that the patient has gone into a chaotic rhythm, it gives an envelope of defibrillation between the can and the lead and converts the patient back to normal sinus rhythm and saves the life of the patient. The second scenario that I would like to discuss today is that of a heart failure or the pump failure of the heart. This is a progressive disease whereby the efficiency of the heart is drastically reduced, and it leads to compromised lifestyle and increased hospitalization. Estimated numbers in India are 1.3 to 4.6 million heart failure patients in India as of now. The underlying cause of heart failure is the pump failure is because of coronary artery disease. It may be because of hypertension, obesity, rheumatic heart disease, and diabetes. However, in the present scenario, obesity, diabetes, and hypertension are the huge risk factors, especially in females. Now, when we talk of heart failure in relation to women, it affects about 2.5 million women in United States. We don't have a data in India, but we can just replicate the data from United States of America. Women account for nearly 50% of all hospital admissions for heart failure. Huge is the impact. And to the corollary, now if we look at the therapy of heart failure, it benefits more women than it benefits the men. So we are concentrating more on treating men. However, the therapies that we have to offer, they have a better outcome in women than in men. This is a data showing a CRT therapy, that is cardiac resynchronization therapy, which is used worldwide nowadays in heart failure patients, which benefits more in women than in men. And this is a proven trial. It's a worldwide trial which was done, which gives us a positive data towards women. However, the paradoxical situation stands that more men are getting this therapy as compared to women, because the acceptance of this therapy in women is very, very low. Whether it is because of the family background or financial matters, but women always take a back seat even for this therapy acceptance. The difference between the men and the women as compared to in the heart failure scenario is that women tend to develop congestive heart failure at an older age than men, and heart failure can occur due to weakened heart muscle, that is systolic heart failure, or it can be because of the stiffening of heart muscle, which is because of the diastolic heart failure. Heart failure muscle is more affected in women, but even diastolic heart failure is very, very high as compared to men for presentation as a case of heart failure. The cause of heart failure in women is because of high blood pressure, I already discussed, and coronary artery disease, valvular heart disease, and diabetes. These are the important risk factors in women. Another important cause of heart failure in women, which is very unique, is a peripartum cardiomyopathy. That is after the delivery of a child or during the last month of pregnancy, the heart of women can go into a failure, which is known as a peripartum cardiomyopathy, and there is no cause related to it, but it does happen, and it is a treatable thing. We can save women from going into overt heart failure in case the treatment comes in time. However, again, because of the lack of either recognition or acceptance of this problem, the patients generally present very, very late as far as their signs and symptoms are concerned. Now, women tend to have more symptoms such as shortness of breath and more difficulty in exercising than men. However, these symptoms are again taken for granted by women, and so they go unrecognized in females. Now, in general, women survive longer than men with heart failure if they are treated right in time. This chart shows the presentation of symptoms of heart failure, which may be in form of shortness of breath, swelling around the feet, chronic lack of energy, difficulty in sleeping during the night, lying down flat, the abdominal tenderness or swollen abdomen, cough with frothy sputum, increased urination during night, and confused and impaired memory because of lack of oxygenated blood supply to the brain. However, management of heart failure, it varies from drugs, the most important part here is a lifestyle change. The lifestyle management stands to be the first forte of management of heart failure. There are therapies nowadays around heart failure improvement in form of cardiac resynchronization therapy, which is a small device which is implanted in the chest of the patient with leads going inside the heart and doing the electrical improvement of the heart failure, resulting into the muscular improvement of heart. Bypass surgery still stands to be a very good therapy for improvement of heart failure in case the underlying cause of heart failure is blockages in the arteries. There are LVADs available, and heart transplant, which is becoming increasingly popular in our country. However, because of a lot of social as well as infrastructure challenges, these therapies still stand to take a backstage, but cardiac resynchronization therapy has established its role in the improvement of heart failure in patients over the last 2 decades. Now, there are, as we have discussed, there are a lot of myths around women heart. So, as women are judged to be more complicated than men, so are these myths. And most of these myths are related to the hormones, which are differentially present between men and women. And if you see this cycle, the male hormone and the female hormone, which come to the peak at teenage, however, the male hormones remain at the same level throughout their age, but women hormone, which is the estrogen, shows to be a lot of variations, especially during adulthood and in the premenopausal and menopausal ages. Hence, the cardiac disease move around these hormones, and they show fluctuation and have really changed the lifestyle of women around. Let's discuss about these myths and clear them off. The heart myth, which is around cardiovascular disease being mainly the disease of older men, has changed over these last couple of years. It affects any age, as early as 25, 29, we have seen patients presenting to us at this age, and it's a worldwide data that this trend is changing. Mortality trend is changing. The trend is reduction in death has been more steadily falling in men. However, the mortality has not changed around women because they receive the therapy, either they don't receive the therapy or they receive the therapy late. And more than 35,000 women under the age of 65 die annually in United States of America because of course huge numbers in India. Well, looking at the second myth around the women, that they don't develop cardiovascular disease before menopause, the things have changed, as I just told you. Menopause is no longer important. The more important is the trend towards the changing lifestyle, stress around the lifestyle, increased incidence of smoking or use of oral contraceptives, and a very unhealthy lifestyle which is there. Another myth is that in case females they find that I am thin and I exercise regularly, I should be immune to cardiovascular disease. However, this is not true. Exercising is great. Keeping the weight under control is very, very good. But there are certain non-modifiable and modifiable risk factors around the cardiac disease. The non-modifiable risk factors are in form of the age, gender, and heredity. You cannot run away from your genes. In case there is a strong family history, whether it is a female or a male, in case they have a strong family history of coronary artery disease, it does trickle down into the genetic structure. Modifiable risk factors stand to be the tobacco intakes, the cholesterol management, BP management, diabetes, physical inactivity, and overweight conditions, which have to be taken care of. Another myth is in form of that women have the same symptoms of heart attack as men. Well, that is no longer true, as we have just discussed. The chest pain in men may present as a pain in both shoulders or both arms, or in the jaw or in the neck in females, and they may have more symptoms of either fatigue, shortness of breath, and weakness. This is again, we have discussed the localization and the quality of chest pain that comes. Men and women both present relatively similar with heart attacks, but both genders, the important point is not to ignore the symptoms of a potentially life-threatening condition. We have to be very, very careful. So it is equal in men and women. The myth around exercise is that exercise is beneficial only if it is a prolonged exercise. That means no pain, no gain. However, there is a dose-response relationship which is much more better. Strenuous exercise is good, but if you have do repeated intermittent period of exercise and have a cumulative effect which will be similar to the prolonged exercise. So please remember that. Hence, to summarize, please don't believe in everything you hear. Please work on traditional risk factors throughout your life. In eating habits, eggs are good, in moderation of course, as is the dark chocolate. The ovarian hormone therapy is okay in young women with premature or surgical menopause. However, they should be tapered early in 50s, and there are suggestions in the data to transdermal patches so that are better than taking oral pills. A balanced diet is probably far more better than vitamins and supplements that we take, and exercise is always beneficial. Always and anyway, you have to do it. And as far as the concern about women is concerned, we have to take the heart disease in women very, very seriously. There should be more preventive checkups, the PHP checkups that we say, preventive heart checkups in women as it is in men. At the moment we are having more of diagnosis in men rather than in females, because either they present late or they take their symptoms for granted. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
What can be done to ensure that the heart muscles remain healthy?
We just discussed for heart muscles to remain healthy, we have to have our eating habits right. We have to have exercise as a part of our protocol. Relaxation is very important. Within the 24 hours that we stay up, we are generally either preoccupied or stressed at one or the other thing. Taking out 30 to 40 minutes out of your time as the me time works wonders as far as relaxation is concerned. So everybody should focus on taking out that me time. Apart from that, regular exercise, good eating habits, no smoking. If you have a family history of diabetes and hypertension, you have to be very careful about getting yourself screened. Once you touch the age of 30, every year you should be getting a checkup done. Earlier we used to call this age as 40. However, with the changing scenarios and the urban lifestyle, the stress in the lifestyle, the age has become as early as 30 for screening now. Women are different from men, whether it is from the electrical point of view or coronary artery disease point of view. The risk factor stands as of diabetes, hypertension, increased weight, stress, smoking. These are the risk factors which are same as that of men. However, the other risk factor which has actually created a havoc is a combination of smoking and intake of oral contraceptives. This combination actually increases the risk of coronary artery disease in women a lot. The studies which have been done till date have included both men and women to analyze all aspects of heart disease. However, the number of women registered in the studies in all worldwide data is less as compared to men. That's why the gender-oriented diagnosis and the whatever trials we are doing, it is less around women rather than men. Junk food definitely increases the risk of heart disease. Junk food, you see, the fried stuff that we eat increases the bad cholesterol in the body. The oil that we use, which is the fried oil, it is not good as it causes deposits in the coronary artery, and it starts, the streaking in the coronary arteries. That means the damage which occurs because of the oil in the coronary arteries, this has been seen to start as early as in children. So this is the impact of coronary artery disease or the blockages in the heart is so huge on our heart that it starts as early as in small children. Hence we have to make a healthy eating habits as our lifestyle even in the children. And this junk food is actually becoming a trend of our time, because this food is fast available, it is readily available, and because of the paucity of time we are more and more binging into it. However, the healthy lifestyle has to include fresh vegetables, fruits. Our Indian cooking is again full of a lot of oil intake and desi ghee intake. I wouldn't say one oil is better than other, but it is the amount of oil that you consume which actually gives you a higher risk of coronary artery disease. The amount of oil being used has to be limited. You can use any oil, whichever you like, but amount is very, very important. Post heart attack, you see, you have already had a damage to the muscle. Until and unless the treatment of heart attack has been done so fast and so good that there is no residual damage to the heart muscle. So now the next thing which goes after heart attack is to prevent the damage to grow further so that it damages your heart muscle more, and secondly to prevent another heart attack. So both of these things are very, very important. Hence doing a follow-up with your cardiologist is very important. Proper checkup every year is very, very, very crucial. And then taking medicines. There are medicines available which are in form of blood thinners. They have to be taken very diligently. Cholesterol controlling medicines so that you have a prevention for another heart attack. And then some medicines to improve your heart function and prevent any kind of sudden cardiac arrest in you. These medicines have to be continued diligently with consultation with your cardiologist, of course. Yes, of course. Stress, in fact, stands to be the independent risk factors for heart disease. That is why I have been insisting again and again that to reduce stress, you need to relax. And relaxation comes from taking out me time. 30-40 minutes for yourself, whether you want to do yoga exercises in that, whether you want to study, you want to enjoy music, that 30-40 minutes can do wonders to reduce stress. That can give you a new personality, in fact, altogether, and plus reduce the stress, reduce the incidence of heart disease in your case. Thank you very much.